Tiptonizer here again as we mourn the loss of our good friend and rock radio legend, Wild Bill Scott. I've got Maxx Hammer on the phone. Max, why don't you share with us the story of how you met Wild Bill and his influence on our industry?
Well, it came as a shock to me. I was, just watching the pay-per-view boxing, and a phone call came in from Guy Giuliano, and then he broke the news to me, and it was, pretty devastating based on the relationship I had with Wild Bill. Without Wild Bill in my career, I would not have reached the goals that I set for myself long before I even met Wild Bill. And the goals I had set for myself were so unreal and unreachable that you just kind of file them away and just hope maybe something will happen. But that something did happen. I got a call from the Satellite Music Network back in 1986, and they said, the gentleman recommended you for a position here at Z-Rock, our new hard rock heavy metal format. Do you want to come out here? And I said, sure. That was my big dream, was to work heavy metal radio, which was not prevalent on commercial radio at the time back in the mid-'80s, except for KNAC Long Beach, Los Angeles, where Wild Bill Scott was working in the mid-'80s. He was one of the pioneers for heavy metal radio, starting on KNAC, and coincidentally, back in that era, I was working in Bakersfield, California, a little bit north of Long Beach, and I could listen to Wild Bill on the radio. I found out from a guy in Burbank that there was a new heavy metal format on in Long Beach, KNAC, so I tuned it in on my radio, and I used to listen to Wild Bill, and I go, wow, this guy's great, and I never had heard of him prior to that. I think I had heard him maybe on KROQ Pasadena years prior to that, but never really paid attention. But when heavy metal radio hit, I checked it out. There was Wild Bill. And then after that, when I got the gig at Satellite Music Network in Dallas for the Z-Rock heavy metal format just kicking off, who did they hire but Wild Bill Scott? So finding that out, I was, it was just a big move for me. And once I met the guy, it was, it's kind of like, you meet your idol when you're a kid. And I was, meeting my idol, Wild Bill. And I, got to know him. Turned out he ended up getting the program directorship. I ended up getting the music director gig, so me and him worked very close together. Before we did sign on the air, I was going on with the name Dave Camper, but Wild Bill, when we were sitting at our hotel pool one night before we all had established ourselves in Dallas and on Z-Rock, he said, you can't use that name Dave Camper. You got to use something more, hard-hitting. And then he goes, what nationality are you? And I told him German. He goes, we'll use Hammer. And Max is a good German name too. So next thing I know, I'm Maxx Hammer, and he was right. That really hit on the Z-Rock format. And even though I wasn't the greatest jock in the world, the name hit, and a lot of people latched onto it, as they did Wild Bill's girl, Booby Bondage. He came up with that name, Booby Bondage, and because of that name, and she was a female in an all-male radio format, she got a big following too. So Wild Bill was a genius of flame. He was beyond his time. He would come up with things that nobody would ever think of, and he would carry him out with success, and people, they were just kind of like going, wow, this guy's, he broke the mold. He's not an iconoclastic person or one that follows the norm or the paradigms. He breaks the paradigms and, sets a new highway. And it worked. I mean, the first 2 years at Z-Rock, before he left, we were doing things that were, unheard of in radio. Even KNAC, wouldn't do things that we were doing. And I didn't really look at Z-Rock as Wild Bill formatted it as a heavy metal format. I looked at it as a music appreciation format. Like there's a course in college called music appreciation, where you go in and you try to appreciate music you normally wouldn't get into, and that's basically what Z-Rock was for me. It was music appreciation. We played every song that Led Zeppelin ever recorded. We played every song that Black Sabbath ever recorded. We played every song that AC/DC ever recorded. No radio station would ever do that because they're so, focus grouped that it's out of control. But Wild Bill said, you know what? Focus groups forget it, you know. We ride low. We don't even check the radar. We just keep on going with our own path, and that's Wild Bill. He just broke the mold, and he just, you know, set a new standard for hard rock, heavy metal radio. And, you know, it lasted, you know, through the trend, and, you know, the grunge came along, and metal kind of went, you know, on the back burner. But, you know, while we were doing it, me, Wild Bill, Booby, Guy Giuliano, you know, people like that, you know, while we were doing it, we, you know, we set a whole new highway, and it was the highway to hell, AC/DC. And he loved Bon Scott. Wild Bill did. He loved AC/DC. Partied with Bon Scott. He partied with them all, you know. But he's gone now. We love you, Wild Bill, and thank you for everything. And without you, we wouldn't have done what we did, and we wouldn't have realized our goals. Thank you very much, Wild Bill. We love you.
Max, thanks for sharing with our audience your story and thoughts on the loss of our good friend Wild Bill Scott.
That's the way it is. That's the way it was. That's the way it is. And that's the way it's going to be.